apparently asking Westerners to jump through ridiculous hoops like showering together or with just a splash of water. Bam, take that, Putin. Isn't quite getting the job done.
We are experiencing a severe energy crisis triggered by the loss of energy production. Russia has stopped delivering around 55 billion cubic meters of gas, the amount that came via Nord Stream 1. New gas now has to be procured on the world market. In France, more than half of the nuclear power plants have failed, causing major problems to the grid, which has also driven up prices. The two issues have triggered an external shock that has hit the country hard, both German consumers and companies.
Habeck is singing a much more panicky tune than he was at the beginning of September when he tried to downplay concerns of catastrophic economic failure by explaining through some kind of magic math how German companies could avoid insolvency by just stopping production. Like, if you just play dead and don't move, you'll survive. It sounds like he got confused with advice on how to handle an encounter with a wild Russian bear rather than a lack of Russian gas. The Western press, including Forbes, Bloomberg, and The Economist, have been warning since the summer of deindustrialization and a factory exodus from Germany and Europe as a result of the bloc's suicidal energy policy. And now European manufacturers of steel, fertilizer, and other industrial staples are reportedly shifting operations to the U.S. It looks like Europe is deindustrializing itself and sending those jobs to America. Clearly, the big winner here isn't Kyiv, it's Washington. No wonder the Biden administration encouraged Brussels to adopt only the most severe and suicidal sanctions. Meanwhile, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has continued his global door-knocking tour to beg for gas, this time to Saudi Arabia, in a race against the clock before the German economy tanks, and having tried pretty much everything else. With Halloween coming up, maybe he can just throw on a disguise, a costume, go knock on Gazprom's door, and just tell them to flip the switch on the existing pipelines to Germany that Berlin was foolish enough to let Brussels sanction. Speaking of which, another top European official seems to be changing his tune as well. Back in April, the bloc's chief diplomat, Josep Borrell, said of the Ukrainian conflict that, quote, "This war will be won on the battlefield," in announcing more European weapons and cash for Kyiv. But have a listen to what he's saying now.
When people say it is not a bluff, you have to take them seriously. A diplomatic solution that preserves the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine must be reached. Otherwise, we can finish the war, but we will not have peace.
Summer has barely come to a close, and already Europe's authoritarian, anti-Russian dogmatism is showing cracks as it repeatedly smashes up against pragmatic reality. But exactly how far the bloc's unelected officials will go in imposing economic devastation and social suffering before pulling from their self-imposed nosedive still remains to be seen.